Hello and welcome back to my OOTP 20 series here with the Toronto Blue Jays. As you can see, some exciting news. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is up on the Major League team. He has been very, very solid through the first 33 games, and what I especially like is that his fielding numbers have improved. I feel like this is definitely someone who could play third base, and even the zone rating numbers, obviously very early, only 33 games, but they're about Major League average so far, so that is something to be optimistic about. And then the bat has been as advertised so far. Remember, he is only 20 years old. That is the good news. The other major good news, what is going on with Randal Grichuk? I think he is having a breakfast of HGH along with his Cheerios. 21 home runs through 58 games, on pace for 58 home runs and an 8.6 WAR season. Certainly did not expect that out of Randal Grichuk, but he does have 65 home run power. He is a fly ball hitter. It seems like if anyone is benefiting from the launch angle revolution, it is him. If we take a look at some of our team stats, though, a little bit more disappointing. 26 and 33, it's not terrible, but you can see we are 1-7 in extra inning games and 4-9 in one-run games. And in addition, it seems like offensively we have been unlucky because we are third in just about every major offensive category except for runs scored, where we are 10th. There's no reason to think that over the long run we wouldn't be anything but third in runs scored. It's got to be just kind of BABIP luck so far. And on the pitching side, we have truly been awful. We are 10th in the league in terms of runs allowed, and also we're 12th in the league in strikeouts and 12th in the league in defensive efficiency. So defensively, we have just been pretty awful. And if we take a look at our Pythagorean record, you can see it's about what it should be. But again, I think that we've been a little bit unlucky in terms of scoring runs, which is going to throw off the Pythagorean record a little bit. And if we take a look at some of the individual numbers here, some more disappointment, especially from the pitching side, because the guys who I was really hoping would pan out have not. Marcus Stroman, just an average at best Major League season. And the peripherals are about the same as they were last year, so I think this is kind of what we should expect from Marcus Stroman. An average Major League pitcher, but, that's going to be about it. In terms of some other guys here, you can see Aaron Sanchez really off to a pretty pathetic start, and things are not getting any better. He's not been able to make it out of the third inning in 3 of his last 5 starts, which is quite awful. And then the rest of the rotation, Schumacher, Buchholz have been fine. I mean, didn't expect too much out of them, but they've been average Major League pitchers. And Trevor Cahill, this is someone who I did get in a trade with Justin Smoke. I think I regret this trade a little bit, but we really needed a pitcher because Trent Thornton, I think at the time, had an 8.9 ERA. And we just needed someone to take over that 5th starting rotation spot. So Cahill fit the bill. And even though Smoke is a good player, he's only under team control for 1 more year, and we had kind of a plethora of first basemen with Kendrys Morales and Rowdy Tellez sitting in AAA. So that's a trade I'd made, and Cahill has not been great for us, but I think he'll be better than 5.36 ERA, but he'll certainly be worse than a 2.62. He'll be somewhere kind of in the middle there. And then for the rest of our offensive players, if we sort by WAR here, you can see Grichuk is far and away our best player. Kevin Pillar has had a pretty good offensive season to go along with his great gloves, so that is good to see. Guerrero Jr., obviously, we've touched on him. Freddie Galvis, look at that. A .330 on-base percentage for Galvis. That is more than I expected. I still don't think he should be a leadoff hitter, but that's what our manager has decided to do. So, oh well. Then there is Danny Jansen. He is the rookie catcher that we were talking about last time. I mean, he's been off to a great start. Good defensive ratings, good offensive ratings. And on pace for a 3 WAR season. I think even offensively he could do better than what he's done so far, but even if he continues to hit like that, that is just fine. It's really kind of the back half of our offense that has not been good, and this is kind of on me. Even though Morales had a hot start, he has been pretty awful since then, so I just don't really think he's a capable Major League player at this point, and you can see he's not even in the starting lineup. Gurriel has taken over him for him as DH. We also have Teoscar Hernandez and Devin Travis, who have been, mediocre. And Tellez hasn't had a great start, but hasn't been awful either. And, hopefully he can pick it up. I think he'll definitely have a slugging percentage that's better than .367. So looking for things to turn around a bit there. I did want to touch on a couple things that I missed from last time. One is in the prospect department. Nate Pearson, so he is actually the 73rd highest rated prospect according to MLB.com. Looks like he's been terrible in high 8 ball so far, but you can see the ratings there. Certainly a borderline pitcher. Hopefully that stamina develops a little bit. And same with the control, to be honest. But someone we will keep an eye on. And then I did want to talk a little bit about strategy and just some of our front office members. In terms of the strategy, I'm pretty sabermetric, so, all the stuff like infield shifts and not stealing as many bases, all that kind of stuff is what I'm trying to do here. But some things like sacrifice bunting, our manager, Charlie Montoyo, doesn't allow me to have too much of an effect. So I just kind of make that as low as I can and deal with the rest. Obviously, when I am hiring my own manager, I'll try to get someone who is sabermetric, but I just kind of feel like normally you are stuck with the manager you have, and you could fire him if you want, but there's no reason to do that so early in the process. We did kind of get lucky in the scouting department. You can see our scout is excellent in international and amateurs and pretty good in the majors and minors. So he's someone that we'll keep for the remainder of his contract. And then, of course, after that, we'll try to get someone who is a little bit better. In terms of the scouting budget, you can see I set it at $12 million. In the player development budget, I've got at $16 million. And that's just an effort to, try to get some young, cheap talent. I've kind of found in general that that's the best way to spend your money, rather than kind of spending an extra $5 million or $7 million on a relief pitcher or something. However, it is something that we're going to struggle with because the Blue Jays don't have a very high budget. So kind of finding that room for the scouting budget and player development might prove to be challenging in the future. Right now, it seems to work out okay. So I think that just about covers it for catching you guys up. So I think it is time to jump into the first-year player draft. We have the 12th overall pick. For some reason, the draft order seems a little bit wonky here. The Orioles should have the first pick. They've got the 11th pick, and the Marlins are all the way down to the 13th pick, so I don't really know what's going on, but the Blue Jays were supposed to have the 11th pick, so we didn't really get chipped. So taking a look at who is available in the draft, our scouting director recommends that we take this Will Bartlett. Pretty good offensive numbers. Defensively, he's fine as well, which is very solid for a catcher. In general, kind of what I look for is two things. Number one is going to be work ethic and intelligence. You can see I've added those two parameters here. Generally, people with high work ethic and intelligence seem to pan out better than those who don't have those traits. And then the other thing I'll look at really is the ratings. I don't go by the stars a ton because it seems like the stars, ever since last year's version of the game, just haven't quite, added up to, whether or not the player is going to be good. So, for instance, sorting by ratings, I do like the look of this Corey Rosier. Not sure if that home run power is going to develop, but pretty good speed, pretty good defense, could play a corner outfield spot if need be. Tim McHugh has some interesting power abilities. He's also high work ethic and high adaptability. I don't necessarily think those guys are first-round picks, though. Armani Sanchez is kind of an interesting one. He's 18, really good defense, and he's got some power potential as well. Good discipline. Braden, I'm not going to pretend to be able to pronounce his last name correctly, but someone like this, I always am intrigued by their ratings, but it seems like in this day and age, home run power is pretty important. And if you have no home run power, you don't really benefit from that launch angle transition that the game has had. And I just kind of noticed it's hard for guys like that to accumulate a lot of WAR, kind of my observation, unless they're just amazing at defense or something. I don't know. The OSA ratings just aren't that high on Bartlett, which makes me a little bit nervous. Another guy I like the look of is Riley Green. Again, that home run, discipline, contact combo. That's normally pretty good. Some decent outfield range as well. I also realized we're looking at all batters, so I'm glad I noticed that. So in that pitching department, you can see Jack. Gosh, there are some really hard last names in this draft here. And it looks like he's a two-way player, actually, and he looks pretty good as a two-way player. Look at that contact potential. I might snap him up just as a hitter. OSA rating's not as high, kind of on the batting side, but still decent on the pitching side as well. Our head scout really likes this guy. Not sure that he would develop quite well. I've kind of noticed pitchers in this game, control and the changeup, especially the changeup, is not going to develop, I don't think, but if control is kind of the main issue, a lot of the times that does not end up developing. But there are exceptions. Matthew Allen, I think that control is just going to be too much of a liability. I don't know. I mean, I'm tempted to take Jack. Some decent, infield range numbers. If this guy is a shortstop with these offensive numbers, I mean, that would be crazy. Guy's 6'5". Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to take him. I think this is going to be our first overall pick. I just think our scout really likes him, and we're going to be saving money so we can spend more on other players later in the draft. So here in the second round, Stephen Curry, that's kind of funny. There is Tim McHugh. He still seems to be available, obviously very, very young. And I don't know, he kind of reminds me of Tyler O'Neill, which isn't necessarily a good thing. Decent outfield range, great power potential, but the rest of the stuff just isn't quite there. Then there's Nathan Duarte, who is a second baseman, which is kind of a downside, but I do like his offensive numbers. But I do like the look of Corey Rosier, who is still on the board. This might be who we end up taking. I'd like to see who our scouting director recommends for this round, and it is Duarte. The OSA ratings aren't that high on Rosier, but they're not bad necessarily. As with Duarte, I mean, that's not going to be a major league quality player if the OSA ratings are what pans out. And on the pitching side, just kind of sorting through some of these numbers, I don't see a whole lot. I mean, there's some people like Chris Clark who I think are, borderline starting pitchers. He's actually got some pretty good pitches, but I don't know if that changeup is going to develop. It's really going to be a hitter, I think, that we're going to be picking here in the second round, and generally hitters are kind of more likely to pan out anyway. So I think I'm going to go with Corey Rosier. I believe that's how you pronounce the last name, but we're going to take him here in the second round. And in the third round, you can see McHugh and Duarte are still available. I'm going to search around with the ratings here, see if anything pops up. Yeah, I mean, the person who is standing out, honestly, is Duarte, so I assume that is who our scout is going to recommend that we take. It is. I think we're going to take him. Okay, so I think I have found who we're going to take. This is a bit of a wonky pick. Jake Mangum. I think offensively he is definitely going to struggle a little bit, but I really like this speed and outfield range, and that's just going to make up for his bat, which is not necessarily terrible, but it's just not great. Actually, I am interested, though, to see who the scouting director recommends. So they say we should take Tyler Nesbitt, who I just don't think is a major league quality arm. So we're going to go with Mangum here in the fourth round. And that's how I kind of feel about, after the first three rounds, I like to take kind of skills guys, someone who's just really good at certain skills, and just see if other things develop as well. And here in the fifth round, I wouldn't mind taking a pitcher. This Matt Ardente, I just don't think the control is going to be quite there. Again, the scouting director wants us to take Tyler Nesbitt. He just does not look anything close to a major league arm to me. This Chris Clark, though, he stood out for a couple rounds. I think we're going to pick him up. And, the control is going to be questionable. That changeup is going to be questionable, but I think the upside is kind of there. And the OSA ratings like him as well. Again, I think that's who I would kind of want to take a risk on. Another one I like is Charles King. Same kind of idea here. I'm not sure if that changeup is going to develop, but OSA really likes him too. He is kind of older, which can be a good thing, just because you can project what they'll be more easily. He also has high work ethic, which is something good to boot. So here in the sixth round, we're going to take Charles King. I think in general, I have been a lot better at kind of late round draft picks. You're really just taking flyers. I mean, there's no can't miss prospects in the draft. So here in round number 7, the computer wants us to take Jacob Olsen. I'm fine with that. Good work ethic, decent defense, interesting power potential. I kind of like to see how his career turns out. So I think this will be the last on-camera draft round here in round number 8. Probably going to go with Dalton Horton. This is who the computer, or scouting director, I should say, wants us to pick. I like the looks of him. The OSA ratings are about the same as the head scout ratings, so happy to take him and see how he turns out as well. Again, an older pitcher, so hopefully we can project a little bit better what he'll be like. And I'll probably do another 7 or 8 draft rounds off camera, and then we'll pick it back up at the international free agents. Okay, so we have fast forwarded to July 2nd. We tried to sign all of our draft picks. We were not able to get Justin Tejada. He was an impossible signing, so I knew it was a risk, but I offered him like $6 million. He did not accept, but I think it would have been kind of a good, power tool, good speedy guy, maybe good at defense, but unfortunately, That did not pan out. However, it is the international free agent signing period, so let's see if there is anybody good here. There is not really. I mean, I will try to sign this Sergio Bautista, but yeah, he's definitely not anything to write home about. I know previously I thought there were kind of too many good international amateur free agents, but I'm going to put that back at the default level after seeing this talent pool. But let's try and sign Sergio Bautista, see if he will accept an offer here. Yeah, I'm just going to give him the $5 million because that just seems to be kind of the best player there, and I don't think I really want to go after anybody else. Okay, so we do get Bautista. That is always nice to see. One thing I do want to take a look at is seeing how our shortstop prospect, Bo Bichette, is doing. You can see that his numbers are really coming along, so I think this is a guy who is ready for the big leagues. I'm ready to call him up. I don't really think I care about getting extra year of service time. That would really be kind of stretching things. So let's figure out if there is room for him. And that could involve a trade potentially. I mean, Freddie Galvis is playing really well, and certainly Bo Bichette does not have to play shortstop. He could play second base, where Devon Travis has been basically an average major league player. And then Gurriel is our second baseman, who has not been very good, actually. So maybe it is Gurriel who will be sent down. I mean, his ratings are not bad, necessarily. I think I'd probably send down Eric Sogard, although I just signed him to an extension, because our owner, for some reason, really wanted me to extend him, but I have no problem sending him down, to be honest. So we're going to put him in AAA, and I'm going to call up Bo Bichette. I think, if anything, I've waited too long. And of course, I could force Bichette to be a DH, as his defensive numbers aren't great. And I might think about that, but I also do want him to develop defensively. And Travis is definitely better than him. But anyway, our manager does not want to have Travis play over Gurriel for whatever reason. I don't know. I think that to a certain extent, I can only have so much influence in what the manager does. They didn't even want to start Bo Bichette, so I think that was a little bit too much. I'm going to force start Bichette. Then the other kind of major issue, obviously, is going to be our starting rotation. I mean, I think potentially our biggest problem is just that there's no ace. You know, we have no one who's consistently there. Now, we're not making a playoff push, so I don't really know that I need to address that this season, really. I mean, we're 8.5 games out of a wild card spot, so I think those dreams are fleeting. Wow, all right, I just wanted to point this out. So, with the Oakland Athletics, they had a scouting discovery, Tim Rich, from New Hampshire, and he has no prior professional experience at all, and he's just come in and been pretty stellar for the Oakland A's, and the A's are pretty awful, so I might see if I can actually trade for this Tim Rich. I don't know that's going to make sense. Yeah, they want Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Dream On, and other than Tim Rich, I mean, there's nobody else who's not really on a contending team except for Marquez, who has a partially torn labrum. So it's really just the pitching staff. I think offensively, if Bo Bichette and Guerrero Jr. and Tellez can hit, I mean, that's a great core to work around. I think really we just got to figure out what we're going to do with the pitching, which is obviously easier said than done. Okay, so we have made it to the All-Star game finally. In the All-Star game, the National League won, and Bryce Harper is your MVP. If we take a look at the All-Star rosters, let's see who is an All-Star on our team. Looks like Grichuk was an All-Star. I think that might have been it. Yeah, it looks like it was only Grichuk, who is still having a fantastic season. Okay, so I've simmed ahead to the trading deadline. You can see Bo Bichette with a bit of a bruised ankle, but he has been playing really, really well. You can see that OPS plus. Only an 88 at-bats, but 151, so that is extremely promising. Otherwise, Grichuk is still the one kind of on top, although his BABIP is kind of through the roof. I think, unfortunately, we kind of have the team we have. I don't see any way to make upgrades unless we're really going to, tear into our prospect pool, which just doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're way out of the playoff race. So, we'll kind of reevaluate in the offseason. I think that clearly we're going to need more pitching, before we're going to have any sort of contention window at all. Okay, well, I think I'm going to end the episode here. We are 48-61, so not going to be in the playoff picture, so I'll probably see you guys in the offseason unless we have a August and September miracle. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.